Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Ryedale series, 115 parishes covering a huge area of North Yorkshire between York and Scarborough. It's a beautiful area, so let's have a look at it. Welcome back to Ryedale, folks. Now, last time out we saw Gate Helmsley. Well, today we're in its little brother. This is Upper Helmsley. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. If you travel a mile to the north from Gate Helmsley, you'll come to Upper Helmsley. The tiniest of the tiny, Upper Helmsley might look on the face of it to be nothing special, but you'd be wrong. You see, even though it has a population of less than 100, it makes up for it by way of its buildings. Right in the centre of the village is the impressive Upper Helmsley Hall. Even though the village is much smaller than Gate Helmsley, comparatively speaking, Upper Helmsley covers a vast area. Most of it is arable farmland, which explains the presence of a farm or two in the village. The manor of Upper Helmsley was originally the property of the Helmsley family, and remained so until Edward Thweng took possession through marriage to the heiress in the early 14th century. In 1605, a new family gained ownership of the manor when George Wilmer, esquire, married Margaret Thweng. The Wilmers would go on to be quite an important family to the village. Jane Wilmer would erect the village church in 1795, a building which would later be replaced with the one we have today. Aside from the hall and the church, Upper Helmsley doesn't really have a lot. There's a nursery opposite the hall and even a patch of allotments if you know where to look. The rest of the village, though, is a quiet oasis of tranquility, which is only spoiled by the occasional passing tractor. It's Ryedale at its finest. Let's walk, folks. We begin this short walk at the village's biggest property. Here, on the site of an old manor house and surrounded by extensive grounds, is Upper Helmsley Hall. The hall and its many adjoining buildings are a handsome blend of Georgian and Victorian architecture. An 8-bedroomed property, the hall is now used as an Airbnb. Around the back of the hall there's a caravan park, described by the Caravan and Motorhome Club as one of the most peaceful in the area. It offers some lovely views of the Ryedale countryside. Oh, and I had to mention this, built into one of its walls, there's a Victorian postbox. Over the road from the hall, you'll find Richmond and Bailey Hall nurseries. This is strictly only open to trade and not the public though. Now, finding things out about the hall was quite difficult, so an educated guess, I reckon the nurseries occupy what was a former kitchen garden. Now, despite its small size, Upper Helmsley still has a church, and there it is right behind me. That is our next landmark. The Church of St Peter stands at the northern end of the village. It's a stone structure built in the Norman style, consisting of a chancel with an apse, a nave and a western tower. It was entirely rebuilt in 1888. The previous church was erected in 1795 by Jane Wilmer, and the building we have today is at least the third to stand on this very site. St Peter's has several interesting features, including a Sanctus bell engraved with the date 1671, making it the oldest of the four in its tower. Now here's something unusual. The local benefice have established and continue to maintain an allotment in the churchyard. Certainly no need then for the allotment joke today. Let's go inside. In much the same way as its neighbour at Gate Helmsley, St Peter's is normally open during the day and refreshments are available within. Amongst its interior features is an 11th century stone font, and built into the south wall of the chancel is a stone slab bearing an incised cross. The door's just come open, so I'm just going to shut the door in case any birds decide to encroach, which they shouldn't do because they nest in the eaves. It's not good for a church building. This is definitely not your average church, because obviously the chancel, which you've just seen, is not square or rectangular. It's a half octagon shape, which is very unusual. And also the provisions in here are something else. For a start, there's heaters. You don't see these in every church. And there's also tea and coffee, just like the one in Gate Helmsley. There's also these comfy chairs, so if you don't fancy a pew, you can always take a seat on one of these. Oh, very comfy, very nice. Oh, let's see what else we've got in here. There's a couple of tablets on the wall. One up there, which is kind of not readable. This one might be, but it's kind of dark in this corner. Nope, can't read it. Sorry, can't read that one. Let's try this one here. There's a poppy wreath there, so this might be a memorial. Oh, it's not a war memorial. This is to do with Mary. Again, it's difficult to read. Mary something. Mary something. Some of these are worn, quite worn, so I think it's Field. Yeah, because there's a Joshua Field here, look. I think it's Mary Field. Died in 1830 anyway. Okay, let's see what this one's all about here. This is the war memorial. So there's 3 men listed here: Charles Augustus Cox, George John Moulton, and Charles Kendall. And that's for the First World War. Now, something else I noticed when I walked in here. Now, we're used to seeing eggs, aren't we, in egg boxes. How about potatoes in egg boxes? You don't see that all the time, do you? So you can buy a dozen potatoes here in an egg box, which is amazing when you think about it. You don't normally see that. So, yeah, nice, quaint little church, this one. I quite like this. It's got a bit of character, and I like that in a church. Anyway, let's move on out of here and head into the rest of Upper Helmsley. There's not much of it more to see, to be honest with you. We're going to head back past the hall and down to like a farm, and then when we get to that point, we'll just turn around and come back. This is so small. I'm trying to pad this video out as much as I can because it's going to be a tiny episode. So yeah, let's get on with it. The last part of our visit to Upper Helmsley will take us to almost every other property in what is a tiny cluster of buildings to the south of the hall. These are a mixture of houses and farm buildings. The main farm in the village is Home Farm. The rest of the parish is mainly arable land. Covering an area spanning in excess of 800 acres, Upper Helmsley's land is used to grow crops like barley, wheat and potatoes. The soil out here consists of Kuiper marl and Bunter sandstone. As well as the farmland, there's an area of common land in the northwest of the parish boundaries, which adjoins Sandhutton Common. There's also a wooded area called Scroggs Wood, but most of that belongs to neighbouring Buttercram, and we might mention that in a future episode. And even though this is a tiny settlement, it still has a parish notice board. Mark off Upper Helmsley, folks, it's in the books. 113 to go in Ryedale. And there you have it, folks. That's been the parish of Upper Helmsley, a really small one, but full of rural charm. And isn't that what makes England so great? I think I've proved that on numerous occasions before. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the parish of Upper Helmsley, and I'm out.